good, everybody? Welcome back to Universal Teas. It's the People's Podcast with your girl Toya, and this episode is called Active Optimism. So let me tell you how I came up with the title. It just randomly came out of my mouth when I was texting a friend. We was talking about something. Y'all don't know what I be talking about. But in the text, I told her, like, it's one thing to be optimistic and to think positively and to have positive thoughts. But I said we have to learn how to teach ourselves to practice active optimism, right? We can't just think positively. We can't just think about wanting better. We can't just think about doing better. You actually have to be active in the pursuit of doing it. So, boom, y'all know I love a definition. So I broke down the definition of the word active and the word optimism, okay? So before we get started, let's talk about those. The word optimistic, or the practice of practicing optimism, is to be hopeful and confident about the future. So that title by itself, that word future in the definition of optimism stood out to me, because being optimistic is knowing that something is going to come to pass, knowing that something good, and being hopeful. To have hope for something means that there's good hope, right? So you're hoping for something to happen in the future. You're praying over and you're believing in the things that you don't see. It sounds a lot like faith, okay? And then we have the word active. To be active means to be engaging or ready to engage in physical, energetic pursuits. So to be active means to have that energetic pursuit and to be ready to engage in that. So then I heard the word energy in the definition of the word active. And it's so funny because in my class today, I teach science. One of my 8th graders was like, yo, we hear this word energy all the time. It always comes up. And I know in conversation as adults, we use the word energy, good energy, bad energy, anxious energy. But the definition of energy, the scientific definition that I teach my students, is the ability to make things move or change. So when you're practicing active optimism, you are genuinely hoping and doing things that is going to bring about change or is going to move you or move things in your life in a certain way, okay? So now that we know the definitions of the words that we're using in the title of this episode, Active Optimism, let's get into it. Boom. So I thought of 3 times when you need to be able to use active optimism. So we've gotten out of this rut of depression, and we're in this proceed phase where we're starting to move forward with our goals. We're starting to move forward with the plans that we're having. We're starting to be actively engaged in the plans that we wrote down in our plan phase. Or if you're in that stage in your life where you're just thinking about what needs to happen next. We are now in the proceed phase where we're doing that. So you need to use active optimism when you start to feel stuck or discouraged. Okay, so we might start at something and then we kind of lose our drive. We might start at something and then we get a bit discouraged because we may see people around us doing similar things, and theirs may be popping off a little bit more. We may be in just a mental space where we can't think past our struggles, but you have to learn how to practice active optimism, because the first thing somebody tell you when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling depressed, when you are looking at the glass half empty, they tell you be optimistic. Optimistic. Child, listen. It's the Benadryl. They tell you to be optimistic or to think positive thoughts. When that is true, but if you are only thinking positive things, but you're still sitting and settled in a space where you're not progressing, that optimism is kind of dormant. It's kind of idle. So you have to add that active optimism piece when you start to feel stuck, when you start to feel discouraged on this journey, when you start to feel like I'm doing a little bit, but I'm not seeing the results. So that active optimism is I'm thinking better, so I'm going to do better. And that's a term that I think gets loosely used too, is when you know better, you do better. That's not true, right? I don't think just because I know I should be doing something, I know I should probably eat healthy. I know I probably shouldn't have just ate that burger from Five Guys, but I ain't do better. I know what optimism sounds like. I can say words all day, but if I'm not actively engaging in the pursuit of fulfilling those things, I'm being idle. I'm cheating myself. I'm being fraudulent to my own future. And that's not something you want to do. So when you're proceeding in your plans, last week we talked about setbacks, and we talked about sometimes we may have to take a step back, but you're still being active in the pursuit. You're not letting the things lie dormant inside of you, okay? The second thing, or the second time I feel that is most appropriate to use this concept of active optimism, is when you find that you are doing more wishing than working. Because you can wish upon a star all you would like. This ain't a Disney movie, though. When I wish upon a star, make no difference who you are, baby. You can wish all you want, but if you're not pairing that wish with work, if you're not pairing that wish with the will and the drive and the active practice of doing something better, you won't get there. For example, I can say, oh my God, I want this nice summer body, but I'm afraid of going to the gym. I'm afraid of pulling out that yoga mat. I'm afraid of moving my body in front of the TV. You know better. You've made up in your mind already that you want better and you want to do better. So you have to physically put yourself there, okay? And so the quote that came to my mind is, you have to put yourself in position so that you can get the things that you want. I said you can't get through it until you get to it. And you can't compare anybody. So I think we might get confused when I say go and do the things. Like, I struggled a lot with going to the gym, right? I would be like, okay, I'm in the gym. I'm saying I'm going to the gym. I step in there for a little minute. But then I started to look around me and compare my workout to the person next to me, and comparing how long I'm on the bike to the person that's 2 bikes over from me. And that's not what I mean. You're already being active. You can't get through a barrier. You can't get through something difficult. You can't get through struggles until you put yourself in a position to look at them. I'm never going to get well if I don't put myself in the gym, even if it's for 5 minutes. I read a book called, and I talk about this book all the time. I'm going to have to maybe tag it or something. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he goes through mentioning a 2-minute rule. So find something that you can do that aligns with your purpose and set a timer to do it for 2 minutes. Whether if you want to eat healthy, you need to make habits that you can do in 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, I can get up, I can stretch, boom. In 2 minutes before I start my day, I can take deep breaths for that whole 2 minutes. Find something small that still aligns, because if I start off with just living a healthier life in my body, and I say, hey, I'm going to do 2 minutes of meditation, that 2 minutes is going to turn into 10, that 10 minutes is going to turn into an hour, so on and so forth. You get the message, right? And so active optimism doesn't say kill it all, right? I'm not saying do like superhero level things. Active optimism is doing the small things. I want to exercise more, so I'm going to go for a walk. I want this relationship to get better, so every day for a week, I'm going to text my partner something encouraging. You know what I mean? I want to have a bigger house, so every day I'm going to put $1 aside. So active optimism isn't these big, grandiose things. You don't have to overwhelm yourself. Just find something that's for you and that's aligned with you, and put it on the smallest scale you can possibly find, okay? The next thing that I want to mention in practicing active optimism is you have to do it when you know that you aren't working to your fullest potential. We all know what we can see ourselves doing. We have all seen the things that we want to do. We've seen ourselves in the places. That's called vision, right? And that's what God gives you. That's what the universe gives you, is visions of what you can be. But we need to practice the active part of optimism to be there. Right? We can say all we want, that I dream of having this. I dream of becoming this. I dream of doing this. And then a quote that came to my mind, y'all know I'm good for a quote or a saying. I said that we are all born dreamers, but you shouldn't live your whole life as just a dreamer. Instead, to be a successful person with dreams, or you want to be a dream catcher. So we can have dreams. Dreams are beautiful. As children, we are all born with dreams and things that we want, but we have to move ourselves. If we really want to grow, if we really want to catapult into being the best version of who we are, you have to step outside of the concept of being a dreamer and then step into the phase of being a dream catcher. You got to go out there and catch your dreams, baby, because they ain't going to come to you. Okay, we can't get lazy with our dreams. And then this also made me think, y'all know I love a quote, period, of a quote by the late, great Maya Angelou. There's no greater agony than carrying the burden of an untold story inside of you. So we have all of these dreams and these passions that are burning us up. We think about them every day. We want to do this. You know what I'm saying? We can't sleep at night because we up constantly. Those times, if you like me, where you're awake at 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. and you can't go back to sleep, that's because there's something in your spirit, something on your mind that you need to get out. That one thing that you keep doing, you have all of these talents that you need to cultivate and you need to nurture and you need to manifest. You have to be able to do those things. You have to go and be a dream catcher and get them. They get heavy. We talked about in I don't know what episode it was, y'all, when we was talking about birthing. You have to be able to birth the visions, birth your passions, because even a woman who's pregnant for 9 months, you can't hold that in forever. And then they have a baby, and this is my best blessing, but you can't hold that blessing into yourself. You got to give it to the world. Your dreams are what you're going to birth. Your dreams are those blessings that you're going to birth into the world. So don't let them lie dormant. If you have a book of dreams written out, if you have things that you want to do and you've done the work to write them out and plan them out, and you know what you want it to look like, you know how you want to sound, you know how you want to be perceived, don't let those things lie dormant. You have to birth them. We were born to give birth to our blessings. That's why God gives them to us. That's why God gives us talents. That's why God gives us vision, is because it's meant for us to birth it. You grow it, you cultivate it, you nurture it as best you can, and then you give it to the world. Okay? So don't be afraid of that. The next thing that I want to mention is that when we are practicing active optimism, one thing that I never want you all to forget is that you need village. So we try to be active, we try to be positive, we try to think through things on our own, but active optimism isn't isolated optimism. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Active optimism is not isolated optimism. Find your village, okay? Find somebody that's going to match that optimism, because that's also being active. Going out and finding people who align with your vision, saying yes to the things that align with your vision. Putting yourself outside of your norm and outside of your box is how we're going to get there. And like I said before, and I kind of want to elaborate on this point, and this is going to be fairly quick, y'all, because I said the Benadryl is kicking in and I cannot stay awake. But you can't get to it if you don't get, that's not what I'm about to say. You can't get through it unless you get to it. So put yourself in a room with people, and next week's episode is going to be called Practice in Proximity. So be around the type of people that you want to become. Let go of those that you don't. Actively disengage with things that no longer serve you. So active optimism may not always feel good. It may not always make sense, but you have to get there. You got to start somewhere. Okay? And I know that this one was quick, but I really just wanted to push you all to know that this concept of active optimism is very much like the concept faith without work is dead. It's the same here. You can think positive all you want. You could type affirmations on your computer. You can put affirmations on your mirror. But if you're not living those things out, you're being fraudulent to your future. You're putting your passions on the back burner. So don't just say the words, live the words. Be the words. I'm great. Be great. I'm beautiful. Be beautiful. I'm a business owner. Build the business. I'm an award-winning podcaster, so invest in it. So you have to realize that you have to pair up your optimism with activation. You have to activate your optimism. Just like, and y'all know I'm a science teacher. In science experiments, you have to have something that's going to activate certain things, right? I can sit and put one chemical, but if I want to see an actual chemical reaction, something has to be a catalyst to activate it. And maybe that's what we need to do. So we need to figure out what that is. In a way that we kind of figure out what we want, here's what I want y'all to do for hard work tonight. Make sure you buy your journal so you can write it down as you're listening to this episode again. So I would like for you to think about what it is that you want. So make a list. What do I want? What am I doing? Okay? Make a list. What do I want? What am I doing? If that list of your wants is longer than the things that you are doing, you got some work to do. You got some changes to make. If that list of things that you want doesn't align with the things that you're doing, so it's like, I want a nice summer body. Well, how many times did you go to the gym this week? I want to be living healthier. I want to eat healthier. How many times did you cook yourself a healthy meal instead of pulling up to the drive-thru? I'm telling my business, baby, because that Five Guys burger was a bussin'. Right? So you have to really be active, and even planning can be active optimization. Ooh, child, don't take Benadryls before recording the podcast because, yeah. But the thing that I was mentioning was making a list. So think about the things that you want. I want this. Even if it's just a list of 3 things, don't overwhelm yourself, because that list, as you get more, you do more. Y'all have heard the saying, to whom much is given, much is requested. So I can want to be something for so long, I obtain it, and then that list gets a little bit longer. So think about, what is it that you want? Do you want a healthy marriage? Do you want to be a better mom? You need to put down what that is. What am I doing to align myself to this? Who around me is doing this? If you can't answer that question, if you're making a list of all the things you want to do, all the things you want to accomplish, all the things you want to get out of your spirit, everything that you want to put into the world, if you don't see anybody around you who can help activate this optimism, then you're not in the right circles. And I'm not saying have people around you who are doing the same things, but they need to have the same drive. They need to have the same ethics. They need to have the same values. That's something me and a friend kind of talked about a while ago, was having similar values. People don't have to be different. Everybody in my circle, I don't think I have anybody in my circle who wants to have a podcast, but I have people who want to be better, who want to be business owners, who want to be homeowners. And so we'll have the same type of passions that align. So when you're writing this list of what you want, think about the people that are around you. Find somebody who's already where you want to be. I say all the time, don't be, what did I say? Don't be something about intimidation. What is the quote I'm always saying, y'all? Allow yourself to be inspired, not intimidated. That's what I was getting at. So be around people who inspire you without being a hater. It's okay for the person next to you to be doing better than you. I don't want to be the best person in the room, but I want to sit next to somebody who I think is. When I used to dance frequently, I would not make certain dances or not be able to be in certain shows. And instead of being like, man, whatever, and finding a way out and finding a way to make an excuse for me not making it, I would say, well, record me dancing next to the person who you think is the best, so I can see it. I put myself next to the best person so that I can figure out, what are they doing that I'm not? Where can I improve? We get so prideful, and pride comes before the fall. That's in the Bible for the church folks. We get so prideful and we get so stuck in our ways, and we get so high class and bougie when it comes to our compliments. We forget that you are not always going to be the best. So when we are faced with failure, we kind of sometimes feel like we lost everything. I never want to be the smartest person in the room, because I still need to learn. You close yourself off when you think you've made it. And honestly, if you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, if you feel like you're the most successful person in the room, then you're losing. You're losing, and you've closed yourself off to grow. I never want to stop growing. Although I'm optimistic, I need to actively be doing things that are going to help me to be better. Because you can think positively all you want, but if you are not doing better, you won't get there. Put yourself around people who are pushing themselves. Put yourself around people who don't mind you pushing them. Because when you start to draw back, when you start to fall back, the people around you, and this is what's so important about active optimism too, you have to be around other people that are actively optimistic, because I don't want to be around a complaining ass person all the time. So you want an active optimist, because just like there's active optimists that exist, there's also active pessimists. Yeah. People who always think the negative. And that's easy. It's easy to do the negative. It's easy to find fault in everything. So that's the challenge, is when you're consciously deciding to put yourself in places with people who are optimistic, who are growing, and who are going, right? The more you know, the further you go. I think that was the OG Dr. Seuss who dropped that line on us, okay? So if you find yourself stuck in a rut, and I'm going back to the points when we need to use active optimism, when you find yourself being stuck, when you find yourself discouraged, that's because you're not surrounding yourselves with people who are happy. You're not surrounding yourselves with people who are pushing themselves. You're not putting yourself in position. You're getting discouraged because you're letting your mind not be optimistic, but you're also allowing your body to become dormant. And don't get this active optimism confused with motion. There's a difference between idle motion and progress. Just because you're moving doesn't mean you're growing. You might have the motion. You can run in place, and I said this on an episode or two ago. You can be running in place, but that don't mean you're going forward. So optimism is the piece that allows us to propel forward, because to be optimistic means to be hopeful or confident in the future. I know that I will be this. That's my optimism. I know what it looks like now. I know what I have right now, but I know what it's going to be. I'm optimistic about what's to come. And you have to add that active piece. I know that I want to be this. I know that I can. Not I want. Let me change my verbiage. I know that I can be this particular thing. I know this marriage can become this. I know I can get this type of job. So you have to actively do what is needed to get there. You can't say that you're tired of being broke and you want a job, but you haven't filled out a job application. How that's going to work? Jobs don't just fall out the sky. There's no such thing as luck. That's just when opportunity meets preparation. Get yourself prepared and then go ahead and find those opportunities. Create those opportunities for yourself. Put yourself in position. You can't get an opportunity if you're not in a position to receive it. Okay? All right, y'all, stop playing with me. So I'm going to go ahead and run back through everything, and I'm going to go ahead and close us out. So Acts of Optimism is the name of this episode. Active means to be hopeful or confident about the future. To be active is to be ready to engage in physical and energetic pursuits to get to your goals. And then when we talk about energy, we're talking about the ability to make things move or change. You're moving yourself. You're changing yourself. You're growing yourself. So you're actively being hopeful, okay? If you feel like you're stuck and discouraged, turn on Acts of Optimism. You better have a, what's that? Is it an Avenger? Optimus Prime? You know, you how they switch up the little Avengers. They switch up, or is it all the Avengers that, no, what's the name of the toy that change into stuff? Transformers. Make yourself a transformer. Hit the active optimism switch, and baby, it's time to transform. Okay? When you're feeling stuck and discouraged, hit the transformer switch. When you feel like you are wishing more than you're working. So if you just sitting here like on Disney Channel, I wish upon a star. You can't be wishing on stars. You better become the star. You ain't gonna become the star if you ain't working. Y'all better drop Transformers in the chat. I couldn't think of it. That's how you know I'm be watching that stuff. But yeah, so that's when you need to use it. When you know good and well that you are not working to your fullest potential, that's when you need to flip the switch and transform into an active optimist. Okay? And remember that thing is heavy. That goal is heavy. That vision is heavy. So you have to birth it. You have to push yourself to do those things. Pushing, being active. You have to push yourself to go into the gym, even though you may not be able to lift as long and as heavy as weights of the person next to you. If you're not able to run on a treadmill as long as the person next to you, put yourself in that space. Because energy, the ability to move and change, is transferable. So energy being transferable means that the ability to move forward is just as transferable as the ability to move backwards. The ability to change in a negative way is just the same as the ability to change and transform in a positive way. And that's always an exchange. It's the ability, being able to, okay? So that's what I wanted to tell y'all. Put yourself in position. You can't get through it if you cannot get to it. So get yourself there. Sit outside the door and listen to the conversations. Sit outside of your dreams and let yourself feel them, but then wake up and put yourself in position to go and get them, okay? Don't forget that we are all born dreamers. You got to move outside of the phase of dreaming and become a dream catcher, because dreams are always going to be there. You are born a dreamer, but everybody's not born a hustler. We're all born dreamers, but not everybody is born to be successful. That's something you got to practice. That's a muscle you got to push. So stop playing with me, because I ain't playing with you, playing with me, playing with you. Okay? So next week's episode is called Practicing Proximity. Think about what it means to practice and think about what it means to be in proximity. So I'm going to go ahead and close y'all out. Thank you so much for joining me right here on Universal Teas. It's the People's Podcast. I will see you right back here next week. Bye, y'all. Oh, and make sure, if you have not, go ahead on Amazon, and for $10 you can get your Universal Teas Heartwork Journal. So go ahead and click the link in the description of this episode to get your Heartwork Journal. Love y'all for real. Bye now.